first ride of the late season where there's snow on the ground. This is an exciting feeling. This is very exciting. I say the first ride, but we all know that this first ride very well could be the last. To any of you Midwesterners out there, the topic of, we'll call it the reality of riding a motorcycle, or the reality of motorcycle riding. And the purpose of this video is to I kind of want to not necessarily educate, but more so inform anybody who is, one, just starting to ride a motorcycle, or two, considering / heavily considering purchasing a motorcycle and getting into riding. So we'll start by saying, okay, and this goes without need for explanation, but motorcycle riding is inherently dangerous, okay? Now what do we mean by that? Like, why is it inherently dangerous? Okay, so sometimes you have to break things down into the simplest of terms, okay? Because while it may seem simple, there are some complexities to it. But in and of itself, okay, a motorcycle is on two wheels and you are unsecured to the vehicle. There is virtually zero protection to you and to first off the motorcycle, and two, to yourself, which is most important, right? So we all know with cars, four-wheeled motor vehicles, they're encaged in this heap of metal, thousands of pounds of just metal. And it's pretty obvious, but that actually adds a huge amount of protection to people that are driving motor vehicles. Now, if you want to look at statistics, yes, probably more people die in motor vehicle crashes, or car crashes, we'll call them, versus motorcycle crashes, right? But that's not a very fair statistic. It's kind of biased because, first off, look at how many cars you see around me and how many motorcycles do you see, or mopeds, two-wheeled vehicles, right? So it's just statistics. It's a statistics game in that fact. And so the more important thing we want to look at is how many of those accidents actually prove to be fatal. And so you'll find, I don't even need to pull up the data to know this, but I've seen numerous studies that have been done. The percentage of people, or the percentage of accidents involving motorcycles that end up being fatal, is obviously a lot higher than the percentage of accidents in cars that end up being fatal. Okay, so you have to keep this thing in mind. And I know everybody's thinking right now, you know, well, obviously, okay, it's an obvious fact, but it's something that gets kind of overlooked. You know, people, especially young guys that want to get into motorcycle riding, they understand this fact and they're aware of it, but they end up not riding in that manner, okay? So you have to grasp that concept. You have to completely understand it and be okay with it if you're gonna end up getting a motorcycle, okay? And I was the same way. When I first started riding, you know, you kind of feel just this, it's so much euphoria that you overlook the actual reality of what you're doing. You're hurling yourself down the road at the same speed as all cars are, without a seatbelt, without airbags, and without essentially all the protection that's going to save your life, right?
Okay, sorry to pop in here just in the middle of the video, but I'm sitting here editing this and I had a thought come up, and this is something I've talked about once before with one of my buddies, and this video, as I'm editing it, made me think exactly of this. And so when you think about like trying to grasp the idea of riding your motorcycle down the road and, you know, traveling at 20, 30, 40, 50, any mile per hour, any speed, what I told him was that, like, think about how fast you can run, right? So if you're just full on sprint down the concrete on the side of the road, how fast could you realistically go? Like, probably, I don't know, average 12, 13, 14, 15, I don't know how fast it is. However fast you think you can run, sprinting wise. And notice how slow that is, comparatively speaking to like how fast you're riding your motorcycle down the road. And it's like, imagine if you were just running at your absolute full speed, and you trip on a rock and you fall. Or if you say you just somehow get hurled into the air forward, or you're running full speed and you run into a brick wall. Like, just try and grasp that, how bad of an injury that would, cause. And so that's something I like to think about when you're riding your motorcycle. I mean, that's why we wear helmets, right? Running into a brick wall at full sprinting speed would be a little bit better if you had a helmet on, right? You'll probably get up and walk away from that. And so I just wanted to add this little note. This is something I've talked about with somebody before, and I thought of it just as I'm editing this video. So keep things like that in mind.
Now, some people may argue that cars with all the extra gear they have, all the protection they have, that can cause a bit of a hazard, because you have jagged edges, shrapnel we'll call it, that can fly out and do all this sort of stuff. But that's really negligible in the grand scheme of things, okay? Because it's not going to matter, right? The chances of something like that happen shouldn't really come into consideration when you're comparing motorcycles to cars. Cars are safer, okay? It's just a straight fact. Cars are safer. They have many more safety features. Motorcycles can try and keep up, but there's no chance. I mean, you can get as safe as you want with a motorcycle, but all it's doing is getting you closer to cars, right? Put some cages around it, whatever. Essentially, you just have a two-wheeled car at that point, right? And there's good technology that's coming out, like assisted driving, emergency braking, assisted cruise control or adaptive cruise control, airbags on motorcycles, stuff like that. It's coming out, and it's a thing. And hopefully it does make motorcycles safer, but inherently they are always going to be more dangerous than riding in a car. And I think that's obviously why people choose to go with cars more so than motorcycles. It's cars, the amount of cars versus the amount of motorcycles on the road is heavily skewed towards cars, right? They're just much more convenient, much safer, all that sort of stuff. So I know I'm kind of rambling about this, but it is an important thing to understand, okay? Motorcycles are less safe. You have to be okay with the chances of you, well, need I say it, you dying, right? You dying on the road in a motor vehicle accident, right? Another interesting point I want to bring up is how addicting motorcycling will be once you start riding, okay? So maybe this is something you haven't thought about, maybe it is something you have thought about, but it's going to be like an enormous amount of fun right at the start. And kind of what this does is, like I said, euphoria, right at the beginning. It makes you want to ride. It makes you want to ride faster, more aggressive, more reckless. And this can become a problem, right? And so while that may seem not very important, it does kind of affect the way you ride. And so I think it's important for everybody that's starting out to be aware of it. You need to kind of check yourself. When you start having a lot of fun, you really need to bring yourself but back to reality. I did that on purpose, in case anyone was wondering. You need to bring yourself back to reality, okay? Again, you are not invincible on the motorcycle. Many people may think they are, but you're not, okay? And so when you start having a lot of fun, you start getting quote-unquote addicted to motorcycle riding. I feel like everybody does at some point when they start out. When you're riding down the road, having a lot of fun, testing your limits, getting better at riding, you need to really take a second and step back, okay? Remember that you are riding on a two-wheeled machine that has virtually no protection, and you need to kind of rerun yourself through that scenario, okay? And I think that's a helpful exercise. Run yourself through the worst case scenario in your head, obviously. Don't purposely do it. And just kind of feel it out, right? It's an important kind of mental exercise to prepare yourself for what could be. Nice one. Yeah, right of way does not exist, supposedly. And a notable mention here is also like the stigma that comes with motorcycle riding. You are going to get, like, one, you may get praised by people. You'll have your buddies that enjoy the fact that you ride motorcycles and talk to you about it, how cool it is, everything like that. But there's also going to be the opposite side of that. There's going to be people that like kind of look down on you, so to speak, for riding. I haven't had any specific scenarios where like people are like, oh my gosh, you know, you ride a motorcycle, you're crazy. Well, some people have told me that, but there are going to be those people that are like weirdly, what should we say, like weirdly against you, and they'll have this sort of like, not necessarily hatred, but they'll have this disturbed opinion about you because you ride a motorcycle. And that's, I mean, in all fairness, that is kind of a realistic, it's not realistic, but it's a, you know, it's a societal belief, you know, in that people kind of conform to that. And so it's not necessarily their fault, but it is kind of surprising, you know, some of your closest friends or family members or whatever may kind of look down on you, and, you know, they get a different look and a different perspective on your you know, your style. Like even things like my grandparents, they may have like subconsciously been like, oh, well, you know, he rides a motorcycle now, that, you know, it kind of changes his behavior, and it shows, you know, if you've kept a bit of your personality secret, I guess we'll say. Like myself personally, I try and keep my life like generally pretty private, even within my immediate family, you know, to a degree, right? To a degree, I'm not a unsocial weirdo, but you know, you try to keep your life to, you know, secretive to a degree. And when you start motorcycle riding, maybe I'm getting a little too serious here, but when you start motorcycle riding, that gives people a notion of the type of person you are. I don't want to go as far as say like people would disown you because you decided to start riding a motorcycle, but you see things on social media about that, you know, people begin to like look at you differently, and, you know, maybe your parents get really mad at you because you're riding it, and it's all in good faith usually. I say usually, but anyways, that's just a couple things I wanted to talk about, you know, like the reality of motorcycle riding and how it can affect your life, and how, you know, different factors may change, you know, different ways of your life may change, all that kind of stuff. But anyways, thanks for sticking with me through this rant, and I'll have a beautiful workout here on this nice late November day.